I want to talk about the iconic group, the Fat Boys. Um, the Fat Boys was more like early '80s, and the members of the group was Cool Ski, Prince Markie D, and Buff Love. And Buff Love happened to be my favorite. Um, the Fat Boys, man, not just the Fat Boys, but the whole '80s. The early '80s was just like the nostalgia of being a kid and watching these bigger than life groups like, Salt and Pepper, the Fat Boys, Big Daddy Kane, which was one of my favorites. D Nice, uh, Pete Rock, CL Smooth. Um, who else, man? Like NWA. I just love the nostalgia of the '80s. I mean, it's like walking into Toys R Us as a kid. Like, these groups was bigger than life, man. But one thing I can say about the Fat Boys, they was original. I mean, you had groups that was, in my opinion, carbon copies. Like Run DMC. Like, I like Run DMC, but if I'm not mistaken, I think the Fat Boys was before Run DMC. I could be wrong, but I want to talk about the dark side of the Fat Boys because Fat Boys, man, they went mainstream, man. They was in a lot of movies. They did a lot of commercials, and I don't know, man. To be called a fat boy, they took the derogatory term and made it something that was kind of appealing. It was almost like Biggie Smalls. You know what I'm saying? It was, I'm fat and ugly, but I'm sexy and I'm a pimp. You know. But with that being said, shoot, I think as a kid, I think I wanted to be a fat boy. You know what I'm saying? I even had an uncle that we called a fat boy. Cause he was a kind of a big guy. But I kind of jumped off the topic. I want to talk about the dark side of the music industry and really about how they sold, how they sold out. And with them selling out, I wonder how many souls that they had going, I wonder how many souls they had following. Um, as we all know, the Fat Boys were fat. And I think Buff Love was, I think at his biggest, he was like 5'4", 5'4", 760 pounds. Now, we all know that's an unhealthy weight. 5'4", 760 pounds. I think he was the fattest of the Fat Boys. But did he have any loved ones that, any family members that say, hey, bro, hey, fam, I mean, you're at an unhealthy weight. Don't you think you need to lose weight? Exercise or something? So I'm gonna go back before the 80s. I'm gonna go to the 60s. If I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna go to the 60s, I think. This is when Martin Luther King, we marched, and he wanted the restaurants not to be segregated, and he wanted whites and blacks to be able to eat side by side. He wanted equality. There's this word equality again. And segregation, which I think as a people, we would have been better off just staying with our own kind. It's not hate. It's just Why eat with people that don't want, that don't like us? Why have people fix our food knowing that they don't like us? That's a hard pill to swallow, man. I don't think I could have done it. Have some white people serve me, knowing that they possibly spitting in my food. Okay, kind of jumped off the subject again. I did her. Anyway, let me get back on topic. Martin Luther King wanted us, just think about it. He wanted equality, and he wanted us to eat at the same restaurants as far as the establishment. Because if you notice, every picture Martin Luther King took, he had the establishment behind him in these pictures. So, was he part of the Illuminati? Did he sell out? Only God knows. But let me say this. During the 80s, the economic boom of blacks, not of blacks, but of restaurants growing, McDonald's, Burger King, all these different restaurants, Pizza Hut, all these restaurants economically growing, and not only are blacks eating soul food, we're being assimilated economically as far as consumers. We're shopping, we're eating, and there's no one practicing healthy eating. No one. So with the Fat Boys, yeah, these guys was pioneers in the rap game, in hip hop. I believe they were the first ones to sell out. And they could have told young girls or young boys, hey, yeah, it's a bad side of being obese. But I don't think they did that. So a lot of minorities back in the 80s, just ate and ate and ate and didn't think about the side effects of being obese. So to me, just my opinion, I think the Fat Boys was the first group to sell out. And even though they was an iconic group and one of the best groups in the 80s that I can remember, I believe that, they sold out, and, there's no glory in being obese because there's gluttony. And I don't know, man. I look back at all these different groups, and I see a lot of agendas. Like Salt and Pepper, great group, but they was one of the first female groups to have sex appeal, but give off a masculine energy. You know what I'm saying? Like with the b-boy stance and the big earrings, and because every girl I knew back then that rocked the big earrings and the what you call that, the ruffles in their hair. How you take the hot curl in her and you get all them waves in your hair and the big chains. A lot of them girls damn near can whoop your ass. But it's just my opinion though. But I love the Fat Boys, and the Fat Boys has a special place in my heart. If you disagree, comment at the bottom. God bless y'all. Have a blessed day.